Could you apply any of those 3 questions that you were asking of the other person to yourself? Yeah? This is the beauty of teaching ATM. You learn so much about yourself from watching other people. Okay, so now could you transfer those same movements to the other side? Take your time. So basically all we did was, how do you get into that position now with your left arm on top? Can you remember what were the moves we did? What was the first move? No, it wasn't the first move. Which shoulder would they come to? That was the first move, yeah? So as you brought your hands through, so first we looked at how you did it, and then which shoulder would be easier to bring your hands toward. Yeah, we're doing it with the opposite side. Yeah. And what was the second move? Once you decided which shoulder was easier. So the next move was that you were taking your arms through, straighten them through, and again to find where's the trajectory. If you were really following through your arms, where would they go? Where would your pelvis go? Where would your head go? How would you follow this movement? So you're not threading through yet, Nicole. You're still just taking the arms through and back. Okay. And just feeling if the arms do head off on a slightly different trajectory as you're taking them forward. What has to change in all of you to allow that? So if you take, once you find where your arms want to go most easily, you just change the trajectory just a little bit to maybe go a little bit up or forward or down. How does the rest of you find a way to follow that? Okay, what was the next move? So it was taking, which will now be your left elbow through the gap of your right. How much do you allow your elbows to move up and down in space, which is absolutely dependent on what your shoulders can do and your collarbones and your shoulder girdles. What the first rib does, where it tilts, where it goes. And really noticing for many of you, you don't allow your heads to move through space much, some of you. Interesting, isn't it? And for you, it's finding, where can I move my head? Is it forward and down, or sideways? What are the directions? All those head circles we did last time, what have they got to do with this movement? How's he been building up? How have we been building up all of these ideas? That your head knows your pelvis, knows your first rib, knows your feet. And we had to get all of that before we come into these quite complex arm movements. And then you had, obviously, your right elbow going under your left. And again, feeling, does that change where my torso goes? Or do I just have an idea constantly, it just has to go through? And what does softness in our intention have to do with softness in our neck and our head, in our breathing, in our eyes? And then both at the same time. So you can find a time that they both slip through at the same time. So does your torso have to find something else to do now to allow them both to go through? And again, where do your elbows go? Do they stay down low? Can they begin to really feel they can move up and down? They can be together, they can move away from each other. And which shoulder do they want to go through when you've got your left hand on top? Where is it? What shoulder are you going to end up with as you take your arms through? So that maybe you could find a way that as you take both of them through, your hands could end up around one shoulder, sort of holding one shoulder from behind. Which shoulder will it be? Have a rest on your back. And what's the floor telling you at the moment? I'm just going to read you just a little quote out of the lesson. Don't try to do it. That means that the achievement should be in the background so that it is done elegantly. And it's really, I'm just going to, as in a little aside, it's really beautiful to see how more and more you're able to really enter that process. That means that all work-generated efforts should be transformed into movement. The intention should be clear so that you have no parasitic thought or feeling around it, except that your thought is performed, your imagination is performed, your feeling is performed. So again, it's about this clarity of intention into action, finding softness, more and more sensitivity, able to make finer and finer distinctions about when we're efforting. So roll to your side and come up to standing and feel how is it to roll after that? How easy is it for your pelvis to propel you through space, to come up to sitting and then standing? And feel, what are the effects of that lesson on you? If you are now after doing all of those movements. If you are now going to think about how is my shoulder girdle sitting on top of my chest, let's just really gently, slowly begin to reach one arm any direction. Does your first rib know that you want to do something, that your arm wants to go somewhere? Does your other shoulder know that you want to go somewhere? Does your pelvis know that you want to go somewhere? And if you're going to reach up just a little bit, not really high, but begin to reach up, is there something in your first rib? Or what happens if your right arm's reaching up? What's your left arm got to do? Is it in your image that it has to respond in some way? And this is where it gets really interesting, because often if we've got a really clear intention, and this is such a big part of the work, we just direct our attention to where we're going. So how does it feel to think, I want to reach up to there, but I can keep my whole big picture in my image at the same time? Okay, have a little bit of a walk around. We're going to come back to this same ATM. We'll have a break.